Hi guys, welcome back. I'm Krista, mom of two, soon to be three, lover of all things journaling, lover of the creative process, and lover of reading. Ever since I was little, I loved reading. Mainly it was fiction. I loved the Harry Potter series. The Hunger Games series was my favorite growing up. Twilight was like huge when I was in high school. So grew up reading lots and lots of books. About 6 or 7 years ago, I probably read my first nonfiction / self-help book. Ever since I read that first one, it really opened my mind to how much I love nonfiction. I didn't think I was a nonfiction person, but I am. One of my current reading goals is to alternate between a nonfiction and a fiction as I read books throughout each year. Today I wanted to walk through 5 self-help nonfiction books that have truly changed my life. So let's get to it. Before I share with you the 5 books, there's 2 things I want to share with you. The first is that, yes, this is a bullet journaling channel, and I actually have always, in all my bullet journals, had a reading tracker, but I love reading so much that I made my own reading journal. Right behind me. This is my reading journal. It's so cute. It has a little cover page, a place for recommendations, a place to track all the books that you read and rate them. I've read 12 books this year so far. My goal is 30, so I'm a little behind, but it's okay. And it has a place review or write about what you've read. And I've just found that writing about what you read really makes it sink in. So if you're interested in that, I'll link it in my description. And then the second thing that I want to say is that these are the 5 nonfiction books that, yes, I would recommend to you. But a lot of the things that I have read about in these 5 books are, I want to say, like universal topics. So they may not touch you the way they like touched and changed my life, but just if you need somewhere to start with self-help or nonfiction or just inspiring books, these are my go-to recommendations. And maybe you've read books that are similar and you're like, oh yeah, I've read a book like that before that like touched me in this way. So these are not like the 5 best books in the world, but these are the 5 books that like really impacted me. So we'll go over that and let's dive right into it. Okay, the first book that I have, I actually don't have my copy of it because, of course, I lent it to a friend. The first book that I would say was the first self-help book that I read and was the first book that like got me into nonfiction and actually liking those sort of books was You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. So I read this book when I was almost finished with college and I wasn't married yet. Until that point in my life, I had felt pretty in control of most of the decisions that I had made regarding my life. I am a planner. I like to control. I like to be in charge of what I bring into my life and what I decide to do with my life. And I was pretty proud of like the life that I had lived. But that book really like opened my mind to, I don't know, just being a better version of myself that I was still holding myself back on from before. It just is like a general feel-good book. She loves to throw in a curse word here and there. Of course, it's in the title. But truly what stuck out to me was that I was not allowing myself to really date or get married. And so I read that book and I actually like he wasn't my husband then, but I knew him at the time. And I read that book and it really just like opened my mind to like, oh, I'm kind of stopping myself in this regard. And getting married was something I always wanted to do but never really thought about. So anyways, that book opened me up to the possibility of getting married and that I was the one holding myself back doing that. And then I started dating my husband after that and we got married. So that's kind of a random, I'm not saying that book like helped me get married, but it helped me be more self-aware of like, oh, I could be doing better if I want to get married, getting myself there. So we got there. And I just love the book. I actually reread it last year and I got totally different things out of it this time than I did last time. So it just goes to show you that like certain books will hit you at certain moments in your life. So that's my first like diving into the nonfiction self-help books. And my second book that I read actually like right after that, almost like at the same time I want to say, was Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And this book was amazing. Me and my sisters actually all read it kind of at the same time. It's just all about creativity and creating and the magic of creativity. It's about play, it's about enchantment. I really felt like Elizabeth Gilbert kind of nailed what it is, and I'm actually rereading it right now. I'm almost done. I have a couple chapters left, and it's just really sparking that creativity in me. And honestly, like, I love bullet journaling, and it's truly a creative process for me. And even the like work that I've started doing with bullet journaling, where I create journals for other people, I truly feel like it just helps other people get in the flow with their creativity. Like, that's truly one of my main goals with what I try and share here, and what I try and do with my business is help people create, because your ideas are potential beautiful creations, and if you can write them out and talk to them about with people, then that creation will just get fast-tracked into coming into play. So anyways, I am truly loving reading this book, and that is my second favorite nonfiction / self-help book. The third self-help / nonfiction book that I love is You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. So this is the second book by Jen Sincero, and I think this one might even be better than the first one. I would say, is probably the most life-changing book I've read. Jen Sincero is actually a coach, which, like, the first time I read it, I had never hired a coach or really worked with a coach before, but like I reread it I think twice last year. And as I reread it after I had hired my own coach, I was like, oh, she's coaching me the whole time. And it made me reflect on the first book that I read, which is You Are a Badass, and how really she's kind of being a life coach in that book. So this book did a couple things for me. One, it helped me start my own business, which is amazing. So if you're like, I want to start a business, read that book. It helped me just like open my mind about like what money is and how to make money, and you can make money being creative and just being yourself. And then it also just like opened my mind to this whole world of coaching, which I love. If you've seen the past couple of videos that I posted, I talk about coaching and just how much I love it. I love being a reciprocant of coaching and being able to be a part of any sort of coaching process. So yes, this book was life-changing. It truly like gave me the nudge to start my business, hire a coach, and go after my financial goals in alignment with who I am. So that is a good read that I would definitely suggest that you do. So that was the third self-help nonfiction book that is one of my top 5. So let's get to the fourth one. The fourth book is The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. Which is, I like ponder why I like love this book so much. I'm also rereading this book. I remember watching the show on Netflix first. There's a show on Netflix, if you haven't watched it already, about Marie Kondo, look it up. She is just the cutest Japanese woman, goes around saying, hold all your things, does this spark joy? And that just was like, what? You just hold your things, ask yourself if it sparks joy, and if it doesn't spark joy, you get rid of it. And I think at the time I watched it, I was married, and my husband's actually really good at this. He always is just asking me, well, does it spark joy? Do you like it? He like totally bought into it. He never read the book, but he just like gets it, of course. It's always like that with him. But I just, like, that question, like, not gave me anxiety, but does it spark joy? And was just a hard question for me. And so like I actually think that that's getting to the root of like me figuring out what sparks joy for me. I need to figure that out. She talks about going through category by category and discarding as much as you can that does not bring you joy in your life, so that the things that you have you can display, store, keep in a way that brings you joy, which I am not perfect at. I'm working on it. Just love this concept of only keeping the things that bring joy, only allowing things into your life that bring you joy, discarding things that do not bring you joy. I have gotten a lot better at discarding things, and it's just because I'm getting clearer and clearer about what truly brings me joy. And then another just like fun thought about this book that kind of relates, I guess, a little bit more to what I like to do with like journaling and in my creative space is I almost feel like bullet journaling is a way to like Marie Kondo your mind. Like you can get everything out, look at it on a page, and then discard the things that like, okay, that's not important, that's not important, that's not important, and truly find the things that are most important. So it's like I'm currently like obsessed with both sides of Marie Kondoing my life. I want to Marie Kondo my physical possessions, my home, live in a clean space, but I also want to like Marie Kondo what's in my head and like what I'm putting on my bullet journal or what I'm planning in my life, and is it even bringing me joy, and if it's not, getting rid of it. So that leads us into my 5th book, which is Essentialism. And I read this book. I haven't reread this book in a while. I want to reread this soon. Essentialism by Greg. I'm just not going to pronounce that name. So yeah, I read Essentialism a couple years ago, I want to say. It's not super fresh in my mind, but the biggest takeaway I got from Essentialism was learning how to say no. I am a middle child. I am a people pleaser. Saying no is not something that I grew up doing. So learning how to say no and saying yes, and I feel like it ties in with like Marie Kondo, does it spark joy, is just such a skill for me and something I really have tried to get better at. Again, I feel like my husband just like gets it. Like he actually read Essentialism right after me, and he loved it too. So we were able to like talk about it afterwards. But like I said, I really want to reread it because it's not super fresh in my mind. However, I do think that it taught me how to grow up and learn how to say no and learn how to live the life that I really want to live. And that just like it ties back in a little bit with when I started my business, because something that was holding me back from starting my own business was I was working from home part-time at a job that was great, and I still love that job, but I knew that it wasn't like fulfilling me to my fullest. And so I struggled so hard quitting that job and being like, no, this is not aligned with who I want to be and how I want to live my life. And so yeah, sometimes I just need to read books to nudge me in the right direction. And so I'm a big fan of self-help and nonfiction books, and I read them a lot. I've been reading like business, finance books lately because that's what my mind is drawn to, but I reread these books because they're my favorites. And like I said, I feel like Essentialism, You Are a Badass, like these books, I'm sure you can find very similar topics in other books, but these are the ones that just like struck a chord with me and like changed my life. And so I wanted to share them with you. And then on that note, so those are my top 5 self-help nonfiction books that I love. There's a couple fiction books that have like truly been on my mind a lot lately. I have my favorites that I just like read for pleasure, and I've been into a lot of like kind of just like romance books, I guess. But some of the like more meaningful ones, I have 3 specifically, and they all kind of are like motherhood oriented, because I'm just like, I feel like I'm a little bit newer of a mom. My daughter is 2.5. Even though I'm about to have 3 kids, I still feel like I'm like adjusting into my mom role currently. But so some of these books that like I read a while ago and when I wasn't a mom are like, I should reread them because they're like, oh, I'm like thinking about them as a mom. So the first one is The Help. Such a good book. I bought this at like for $2 at like the library bookstore forever ago. I actually haven't reread it yet in a long time, but I really like that book. And that book, Eibeline's one of the main characters, and she essentially nannies and helps a family with little toddlers. And to one of the toddlers, she's always saying, you is smart, you is kind, you is important. At least that's from the movie. I can't even remember if that's a direct quote from the book. But I have been trying to like do those affirmations with my daughter because she's in the tantrum phase, and trying not to lean into that and trying to remind her, you're a really kind, nice girl. These emotions are just getting ahead of you. So I love that. And then I also love like the idea of like help. I mean, not in the way of this book, obviously, but like I just get it. Like being a mom is a lot of work, and you just like need help. And so I've been playing with like hiring a babysitter. In my mind, I'm playing with hiring a house cleaner. I haven't yet, but like I get it now. I feel like when I was younger, I was like, why do people do that? That's silly. Can't you just like clean your house? And I'm like, because moms just need help. So I love that book. Second one is Room. I won't tell you what this one's about, but read it if you want to. A mom and her son. The main thing I take away from me is like she is with her son 24/7 because of a circumstance, and just she gets real creative with what they do in their little tiny space. And like I always think about that, like, wow, if she can get creative in that tiny space. That's maybe just like a weird one to relate to motherhood, but it's an inspiring book. It's a little sad, but it's good. And then the last one I actually read on Libby, which is how I read a lot of books that if I don't like love a book, especially fiction, I don't usually purchase it. I usually read fiction on my phone on the app Libby, which is like you can connect your library card and rent books for free on there and read them or listen to them. I'm not very good at doing audiobooks, but I read them on my phone. And so I read Lessons in Chemistry, which is a series coming out soon. Let me try and do this spoiler free. It's a single mother who is raising her daughter, and she's super smart. She's a scientist, and she teaches her daughter how to read like before she gets into kindergarten. And for some reason I kind of want to do that. I don't know if I like really want to do that, but I'm just like, wow, I just love the idea of like, she's so smart. She just like took it upon herself to teach her daughter, and she didn't even like, in the book they don't really like explain how she teaches her. She just like did it. If you follow me on Instagram, I've been kind of trying to do a little bit of homeschool with my 2.5-year-old daughter. I am not trying to teach her how to read, but I just like the idea of, and I believe that, you know, as her mother, I am the one teaching her literally everything she knows right now, because I have the privilege of being a stay-at-home mom with her. And so yeah, just I was inspired to like get a grip on like, okay, if I want to teach my daughter to read, I better teach my daughter how to read. And so that actually leads me into the last thing I wanted to share with you guys. Launching this week is a homeschool planner that I made with Schoolist in Seattle. My friend Maddie, her Instagram handle is @Schoolist in Seattle. She collaborated with me and we made this homeschool planner together, or homeschool bullet journal, and I wanted to just like show you it. So this is the exterior of the homeschool planner. It's so cute. Maddie was so thoughtful in how she created this homeschool planner and exactly what she wanted. And one of the main features is there is also a book list each month that she is going to keep track of all the books she reads with her kids each month. So I think that's super cute. There's lots of other features in here that you can check out on my website. I'll link this in the description box as well. Take a look at that. If you're a homeschool mom and you want to get into reading with your kids or even promote reading for yourself, that was really fun. I love reading. So if you have any book recommendations for me, please drop them in the comments. Follow me on Instagram if you're not already at Created by Krista Kirky, and give me some reading recommendations. If you've read any of these books, let me know. If you happen to read the book after you've watched this video, let me know. I'd love to chat with you about these books and if you found them as life-changing as I did. And like I said, these were like very life-changing for me, and so I just wanted to share them with you. But if you have other books that you recommend and love and like really like struck a chord with you, share them with me. I'd love to add them to my TBR, to be read list. Well, thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and we will catch you next week with a new video. See ya.